For thousands of years, half of humanity lived without rights. They could not vote. They could not study. They could not decide their own destiny. And yet, they changed the world. This is the story of the longest revolution in human history. And it is not over yet. For centuries, women existed, worked, loved, created. But the world wrote them into the margins. Until one day, someone dared to ask a dangerous question. What if women were not born to obey, but to decide? That is where it all began. Feminism was not born as an ideology. It was born as an uncomfortable idea. One that challenged kings, religions, governments, and traditions. One that questioned the order of the world. Its history is a slow, stubborn, courageous march. A revolution without armies. A rebellion without weapons. A social earthquake that is still unfolding. In 1792, in an England where women could not vote, study, or inherit, a philosopher raised her pen like a sword. Her name was Mary Wollstonecraft. She wrote a book that shook Europe. A vindication of the rights of woman. Her message was radical. Women were not inferior. They were not naturally weak. They were not born to serve. They had only been educated to be silent. Her daughter would become Mary Shelley, author of Frankenstein. But her mother had already created something even more powerful. An idea capable of changing history. During the French Revolution, while men proclaimed liberty, equality, and fraternity, a woman raised her voice. Olympe de Gouges. She wrote the Declaration of the Rights of Woman and the Female Citizen. For that, she was executed. But her message survived. In the United States, a formerly enslaved woman stood before a crowd and asked, "Sojourner Truth, ain't I a woman?" Her voice shattered two chains at once, racism and sexism. Soon after, Margaret Fuller demanded education, independence, and dignity. And in Brazil, Nícia Floresta founded schools for girls when educating women was considered dangerous. In the United States, democracy was built without women. They paid taxes. They worked. They ran households. But they could not vote. In 1848, they organized the first Women's Rights Convention in Seneca Falls. They signed a declaration modeled on the Declaration of Independence. But changed one line. All men are created equal became. All people are created equal. The suffragists marched on Washington. They were arrested, chained, force-fed in prison. But they did not retreat. In 1920, after more than 70 years of struggle, the United States granted women the right to vote. Democracy had just changed forever. In the Southern Hemisphere, history was awakening too. In Argentina, Virginia Bolten led labor strikes and founded the first feminist newspaper. Elvira Rawson fought for women's suffrage. Julieta Lanteri became the first woman to vote in South America. Maria Rojas Tejada defended civil rights. In Uruguay, Paulina Luisi became the country's first female doctor and one of the great leaders of Latin American suffragism. Women were no longer asking for permission. They were demanding justice. In the 20th century, Virginia Woolf asked a question that still echoes. What if Shakespeare had had a sister just as brilliant? And she wrote an immortal work. A Room of One's Own. In Latin America, Esperanza Brito shaped feminist culture. In the Arab world, Nawal el-Saadawi challenged dictatorships, extremism, and prisons by writing about the body, desire, and freedom. Feminism was no longer Western. It was universal. In 1979, Iran experienced a revolution. It promised justice and dignity. But women soon realized they had been used and then silenced. The veil went from being a choice to an obligation. The law rolled back decades. And then something unexpected happened. Women did not retreat. They resisted. For years they built networks, underground universities, and associations of lawyers. In 2022, a young woman named Masa Amini died in police custody for wearing her veil incorrectly. Her death set the country on fire. Women removed their veils in public. They cut their hair in the streets. Men formed circles to protect them. The slogan spread across the world. Woman, life, freedom. In 2012, a young woman was brutally raped on a bus in New Delhi. She died days later. Her story ignited India. Millions marched. They demanded justice. And the country changed its laws. Feminism was no longer memory. It became the present. In Afghanistan today, there are girls who do not reach the age of 10. Girls who do not go to school. Girls who cannot read. Girls who do not play. Girls who are sold. In villages devastated by war and hunger, some families give their daughters to adult men in exchange for money or food. It is not marriage. It is a transaction. Since the Taliban returned to power, millions of girls have been expelled from the education system. And when a girl stops being a student, she becomes a commodity. This is not history. It is happening now. And this is not a matter of ideology. It is not left or right. It is not religion or culture. It is a human issue. When a girl is sold, no politics can justify it. When a woman is beaten, no tradition can excuse it. When education is forbidden, no flag can make it acceptable. This is not about parties. It is about people. It concerns us all. In Russia, Pussy Riot challenges power through art. In Nigeria, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie redefines feminism for a new generation. In Pakistan, a teenager defies extremism. Malala Yousafzai was shot for wanting to go to school. She answered with a Nobel Prize. Feminism is not a war between genders. It is an alliance for dignity. It does not seek supremacy. It seeks equality. It does not destroy. It builds. It is the story of millions of anonymous women who refused to live on their knees. And of men who understood that a fairer world is better for everyone. This is not only the history of feminism. It is the story of humanity learning to look itself in the eyes. And it is not over yet.